Welcome today to this is actually our last book to biz for now. Who knows what we'll be doing in the future, but I think this has been a pretty good run of 6 months of 4 workshops per month, and almost all of those are out in the recordings. So exciting and glad to have you guys here and to have had you in our prior workshops as well. And today we're looking at a book called Simple Rules: How to Thrive in a Complex World. And the notes about it are complexity surrounds us. We've too much email. We have to juggle multiple priorities and hack through thickets of regulations from phone contracts to health plans. It's all the time we're hit with things that are complex and complicated. It says that our ideas from this book could help us beat even the most complex problems. So let's see how that's going to go. Let me roll on down. Of course, our typical things that we run through, but if you're new, for a free version of ChatGPT, you can go to chat.openai.com, and that's going to get you into ChatGPT and let you use it. We recommend ultimately, of course, using 4.0 and ultimately doing the $20 a month version, but you can get by with the free one for a bit. What we would also like you to do is download a file from the chat window in Zoom, and you can look at the bottom of your Zoom screen and find where the chat button is. And if you click on that, you'll be able to see where one of my co-presenters, either Laura or Rachel, oh, thank you, Rachel, has put in a copy of this slide deck in PDF format for you. So you can go grab that, download it. These are the instructions on how to do it. Then ultimately, in a moment or two, we're going to get into a prompt that you guys can work and get some value out of as based on this particular book. But why are we getting together? Well, it's because AI is happening now. It's here, it's moving rapidly. Just listening to a podcast today where, again, heads of major companies are starting to say that they're figuring 30 to 50% of their workforce is going to be handled by agents within AI. It's coming fast, so keep an eye on it. Also, we each individually want to become more efficient and work faster and smarter. We can also share this with our teams so that our teams can work faster, smarter, and more effectively in our clients. So we want to help them start using AI, or at the very least, we want to use AI to help our clients. We're recording today, so recordings will be available within 5 to 7 business days. There is a specific page you can go to get those, and I would imagine that either Rachel or Laura could put the link into the page that you go to get the recordings. Just as a reminder for people that come in late, we're going to close the doors to the workshop when we first share prompts so that the people who are here on time aren't interrupted by other people jumping in and going, "Oh, what was the prompt? What am I supposed to be doing?" etc. That's why we close the doors at that point. Watch for your confidential information if you're putting any client information or anything in that you don't want to be learning material out there for the AI or the chat bots, whichever one you're using. And I don't believe we're going to have breakout sessions today, so I don't think we need to worry about that. I'm going to be asking you guys how you've been using AI. So I'll roll into that. Yes, it's on this screen. So if you want to, you can go ahead and read about how I got involved in AI. I've been through it several times, but you guys are smart enough to read, so you can glance through that. But this is the part where I like to ask the people in the group, how are you getting involved with AI? Think about your day-to-day work, your team. Are you doing something that interacts with your team or your clients? So I'm going to ask for volunteers. This is a sharing session, and we all learn from each other when we say, "Oh, I used it for this," or "I used it for that." You can go ahead and just raise your hand, and either Laura or Rachel will call on you, and then you can share. Please.
Pam, it's Laura. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Share with us how you've been using AI.
So I'm a rank beginner at this, and I'm using it for email templates, and then I'm using it for responses because I do numbers better than I do words. So it's helping me sound fabulous. And then I had someone ask me to do a webinar with them. And so I went to ChatGPT and asked for an outline of what I told it what I wanted to do. And it gave me a great outline on what I could do in the webinar. So I'm learning. And then finding you guys was great. It's helped quite a bit.
That
Terrific.
is terrific. And Pam, I did put a link out in the chat. If you want to see any of our prior workshops, they've been edited, they're out there, along with the slide decks and the prompt files that you can use if you find any of the topics are helpful or useful to you. I do know that you want to click on that link because if you do save the chat, it doesn't save the underlying URL.
Okay, got it.
So you might want to get that.
All right, thank you. I bookmarked it.
Great, great.
Okay. And I'm going to mention we're making these free for now, but a few months down the road, we might put those behind a inexpensive paywall because there's been a lot of work go into these. But for now, they're free, so go grab stuff now while you can when it's free.
Would anybody else like to share how they've been using AI? I don't see any raised hands, but if you'd like to share, either raise your hand or, yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I've been using, I'm a designer, product designer. So we've been using Midjourney from actually about 2 or 3 years now. At the very beginning, it was horrible. The results were not that great, but it was inspiring. There would be these accidental shapes that would happen. It didn't quite look like what we wanted it to, but then we would go in and modify it by hand. But since that time, Midjourney is evolving, and now they offer not only two-dimensional images, but you can actually make video from prompts.
Could you
So,
explain what Midjourney is to people who aren't familiar with it?
yeah, so Midjourney is an AI software where you type in a prompt that kind of describing what you want it to imagine, you forward slash imagine, and then you tell it what you want, and there's an art form to the prompting. And it can give you back a result in a cartoonish style. It can give you back something that's very realistic and cinematic. There's various prompts that the default is it gives you a square image, but you can do a 16 by 9. There's little things that you can type in to specify the aspect ratio and whatnot. So what we tend to use it for in design is, for example, instead of buying stock photography, if you want to imagine your customer and you can put in a very detailed explanation of what you want it or who you want it to render, and then it will give you choices. And each time it gives you four choices, and then you can go in and either upscale what it gave you, or you can make variations on, usually three of them are not so great, but one's pretty good. And then you can go and pick that one and it will make more variations from there. So it's very good for kind of just rapid ideation and kind of a starting point. And then there's another software that we use from there called Viscom, which allows you a lot more control because you would do a line drawing, like almost a simple napkin sketch, if you will. And the more detail you make it, the better. But you basically put it into Viscom and then it will render it for you again in a lot of different styles. Sometimes it's just like a sculpture, like a gray sculpture in a white room, or it could look like a finished product, or it could look like a drawing or rendering. And what that does is it saves you a lot of time as a designer because you can go through and you can ideate a lot and then you can sketch and create some new ideas and then it will render it for you in a very finished manner. So it allows one designer to do the work of 5 or 6 people in a very short amount of time. And then
Oh,
I've been
wow.
using ChatGPT a lot lately. I've been trying to upgrade my LinkedIn presence by creating a weekly, or maybe it's been bi-weekly or monthly, a newsletter that I post and it has a title to it. And so initially I was using it I would write something that I thought sounded pretty good, but then I would tell it the tone I wanted, how I was planning to use it, and then it would rewrite it for me. And so it always sounded a little better and it would cut out some of the I have a tendency to be maybe over wordy and it does it just more efficiently. But now I've been shifting and actually asking it to come up with ideas for me to write about. My theme is design uncovered. So it's discussing design topics or uncovering design that maybe a lot of people don't know about or aren't aware of. And it goes and scours and comes back with suggestions. And sometimes you can give it, like I gave it the task of give me something around flying cars. And so then it gave me a whole list of companies that are doing that now. And then I went in and did some research for myself. And I always like to write it first myself and then give it back to ChatGPT and then it will go in there and do it. But now I'm starting also to use it for research, go in and give me an analysis of, for example, I have a project now where I have a client that is in Central America and I don't know enough about the market there. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to give me a rundown. I'll give it the countries and then I will give it the product and then have it give me competitive analysis of what's out there. And right now it's providing only the websites that I can go and find. But I just saw this morning
Well,
that ChatGPT is introducing an agent. Oh,
yeah, and actually I think they came out with that a while ago. So
yeah,
it sounds like I'd like to give a couple of other people a chance to chat
yeah,
about what they're doing, but you're putting your fingers in all sorts of aspects, and it sounds like you're
y-
exploring
yeah.
and looking what you can get out of each one of these things that you're
And
looking
my
at.
next
So
mode is going to be video. I want to push into getting video and actually taking a design and having it rotate. It's very
there's some
beneficial.
really cool tools out there. If you go out on the web, VO's got some really fantastic things. It's a little more expensive, but it'll
Yeah,
give you some great stuff. So,
the problem I'm having is there's almost too many choices, and everybody wants you to subscribe, and yet the tools I'm already using, like Midjourney and Viscom, are now introducing 3D. So I would rather have it in a tool that I'm already familiar with, and maybe one subscription covers it versus having all
mhm,
these disparate things. So I think
yeah.
that's the next step for AI is to start connecting this stuff better nodally so that it's a one-stop shop type thing versus having to
Right.
hunt all over for 50 different tools to get one thing done.
So,
Thank you.
James, I see that you've had your hand up. Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate that. James?
I got a new client, and he is a part owner of a bookstore in Montpellier, France. And so he sent me the French tax returns.
So you're brave taking on a foreign country's tax returns.
I've got a couple of clients that are in India, so I'm okay with learning that. I was actually in France from age 2 to age 4. What I remember of French, even after I did high school French, is juste un peu, just a little, and comme ci, comme ça, like this, like that. So I was messing around with the Copilot and pulling some of the terminology so I could get an understanding of what some of the forms and the other information was. So that'll be one of the things. And I've messed around with my MVP. I've also done a couple of letters and emails.
MVP being mission, vision, and purpose, right?
Yes, yes, thank you.
So sometimes that can be hard. That can be really difficult as you try to do it on your own, but AI can help us a lot go through the creation process and help us think our way through it and end up with something that really feels unique and true to you as well.
I used Copilot and I was actually working through what I thought was my MVP, my mission, vision, and purpose. And one of the staff said, "Hey, why don't you run it through and get some variations on what you want and pick the one that resonates with you." And so it, it works.
Cool.
That is
That's a
great.
great commercial right there. Just it works. Yeah. Okay, and Michael, I see you've got your hand up.
This week, I used Teams for my meetings and I did the transcript, not just the recording, but I just did the transcript. And then I popped it into ChatGPT and asked for a summary and to give a who's responsible for what out of the outcome of the meeting. And it did a great job. And part of the prompt was to not include erroneous information or side rabbit trails and stuff. And so it kept out all of that stuff that wasn't really pertaining to the meeting. I've also used it to do some research on the electric power steering of our car that we have an error message. And I also just started using Clockwise, which I think it was in Tuesday's meeting, somebody talked about it, to an AI scheduler, and just now getting started on that and getting used to it and getting it set up. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Again, I love seeing how you guys are starting to explore and look at all of these, not just the primary chat bots, but some of the other AI powered software that's out there. And as Daniel mentioned, of course, there's 60 of everything, and trying to choose between them can be a little tough, but that's what free trials are for. Give it a shot and then be sure that you cancel. So thank you so much. Do we have anybody else with hands up, Laura?
No, I don't see anybody else with hands up, and we'll be
Okay.
putting our prompts into the chat momentarily.
And while they're doing that, of course, I want to say thank you to Rachel and to Laura. Rachel's been a moving force behind getting these workshops out in the alignable ecosphere. I don't know if that's the right name, but out in the alignable arena, and also to help with some technical details, lots of technical details behind getting these Zoom workshops set up. So many, many thanks to Rachel for that, and also to Laura for being a wonderful proofreader before, so you guys don't get lots of mistakes on the PowerPoints, as well as handling the recordings and the editing of the recordings and so on. So many, many kudos to both Laura and Rachel. You can go ahead and get this. We already talked about downloading this. And then today, our book is in some idea starters before you actually do the prompt. Are there areas where you find it easy to get overwhelmed by complicated situations? Do you ever create complicated or complex solutions? Tell you what, I've been guilty as charged on that one. And where might some simple guidelines be helpful? So keep your prompts so you can use them again. And then you're going to download and copy today's prompt into your ChatGPT. Again, we recommend to use the version 4.0. There are several versions to choose from now, but 4.0 is likely going to give you the best result based on the prompts that we've provided to you. And then together, we're going to take a quick look through the prompt. Then you'll work on it a bit on your own. So let me pull the prompt up.
And while
Okay.
Diane's doing that, I did drop the flat text prompt into the chat so you can download it. When you open it with your text editor, it will look similar to what you're seeing on Diane's screen.
And this part's going to be familiar. It's going to ask you about the kind of company you have, what your role is, and the size of the company. You could probably get that condensed into a couple of sentences, and or maybe your AI remembers these things about you. And then what we want to see is a brief summary of the key ideas. Simple Rules has some key ideas that are going to be helpful. And then a short list that is going to give you some ideas. I tried to give you some ideas on the front end, but based on your company and your role and this type of information, it's going to give you some ideas about what kinds of complex situations you might encounter in case your brain froze up for some reason. It's going to give you some ideas. And then it's going to ask you to go ahead and pick out a couple of those that where you'd like some help, and prepare a list of how I might begin adapting several of the strategies or action steps that the book provides, and then to give you a 4-week outline of some things that you could do to start implementing the ideas from the book. And then it's going to say, hey, do you see any problems with this? And then you can respond. I ended up responding in mine and just said, I couldn't start this right now. I'm going to have to wait a month. You might have other ideas. You might say, I've got a team member that won't go for this, or whatever difficulties you foresee in those suggestions. Ask it how to help you overcome those issues. So that's what's in the prompt. And what we're going to do is work on that for about 12 minutes. I'll start the timer. Give me a second. And then we'll come back and we'll share our results as a group.
And if you download that prompt, all you'll have to do is select the text in it, do a copy, go to your AI GPT, do a paste, and hit enter. It will prompt you for the 3 things that Diane mentioned, the type of company, role, and size of company. You can provide that information to it, and it will go on its way.
And then here are the instructions that Laura just ran through. I'm going to start the timer.
In our library time, everybody will go quiet for about 12 minutes. We're just going to let you work on this, and we'll be quiet in the background. And after 12 minutes, Diane and everyone else will be here to discuss results.
There we go. We kicked it off. I'll see you in 12 minutes. There's the end of our timer. Having a timer to get certain things done can be really helpful. It just kind of pushes you along, right? So, did everybody get through their prompt? Yes, no, nod.
Yep, I'm seeing some nods, Diane.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. And here are some reflections to help guide our conversation as well. But let's go ahead, and we have a little bit of time here to share. And each person could just maybe give an example of 1 or 2 of the complexities that they encountered. And I'm going to jump in on Daniel's behalf here because I'll bet you one of his complexities was choosing among the many AI software platforms that he could choose from.
Yeah, actually, I had a different one. It was more of a client problem. I have a client who keeps engaging me and he doesn't pay and he keeps changing his ideas. And I've been doing less and less for him, but he's becoming a time waster for me because every time he talks, he wants to talk for a long time. And then every time it's like Groundhog Day. What it came up with was a pretty good plan about using these simple rules to codify your rules and then basically send them an email saying, this is my policy, this is how I'm going to engage. And then you basically have requirements they have to meet to continue engagement. And then it just sets it up with a very practical way. He's either going to have to start paying for the services he's taking, or we're going to sever the relationship, but to do it in a very kind way.
So that's a stopping rule, right?
Yes,
Sometimes stopping is a good
it-
place to go. Well, thank
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Okay, Pam.
Okay, I put it together and then it came up with this great set. And then I picked the 2 complexities of inconsistent client expectation or unclear service boundaries and difficulty measuring team productivity consistently. And so it gave me some examples of what I can do to actually each week take those 2 problems and gave me things to do, identify 2 to 3 patterns where a simple rule could help, draft the simple rules, ask my supervisors for input. So it really gave me some really cool things that I can easily do to be able to track some of this stuff. So this is awesome.
Good, good. And we are going to continue. I'm going to ask Shai to continue to send out requests for you guys to just give us a couple sentences about your experience with these workshops so that we can decide if we want to continue with them. And if we do, then we'll have a few endorsements from you guys. Thank you.
Yes, keep to it. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been
Wonderful.
great.
Okay, so happy to hear that. Michael, you're the next person that I can see in my view.
I did the same thing and it came up with some complexity issues. And first I chose setting clear client onboarding procedures and then also consistent quality across multiple clients. And it came up with some nice things. And then I asked it to, I came up with a 4-week plan. And I said, it's more likely I only have to do it over 6 weeks. And so it came up with a 6-week plan. And I
Nice.
said, yeah, that'll work. And then do you have any concerns about implementing? And I said, yes, coming up with the specifics needed for onboarding just to see what it would say. And it said, great. And so it came up with a long list of things. And then I said, yeah, prepare the list in Excel. And then I asked it about the order it had on something, and it explained why it had it in the order it had it in versus what I thought it should be. I was like, oh, I understand that reasoning. Good. Now just redo the Excel and add the due date, completed date, and by who columns. And it did. And then I exported the file. And that's as far as I got.
Nifty. Yeah, you accomplished a lot in there. And I was going to add one other little thing on the side. Sometimes, so that list of where it said, oh, here are all the areas that you might be encountering complexity. What's really important for us to actually realize when we're running into a situation that's complex. Instead, I have a tendency to just want to problem solve personally. And so I start problem solving instead of doing that stopping thing and stepping back or saying, oh, this is complex. Maybe I shouldn't address this right now. Maybe we park it somewhere and deal with it later. So recognizing that you're in a complex situation, I think, is also part of the thing. And then, of course, now we can go to AI and ask for help too. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, Lori, I'm seeing you next in my lineup.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I selected that the two key complexity issues I'm looking at this week, because as you guys can imagine, your complexity issues change every week, every day. So mine were prioritizing tasks in a fast-paced multi-hat role and reducing time spent in Q&A with repeat questions from the clients. It gave me a couple of issues and it gave me a very doable 4-week action plan. So I'm looking forward to implementing.
Good. So sounds like everybody's getting some pretty good to-dos to help them through some of these. Jean Marie.
Well, hello there.
Hi.
Hi, I ran the prompt. For some reason, my text software numbered everything and I had to rerun it, taking a couple numbers off on the words ask. So if anybody else encounters that, it wasn't pausing to ask. And I saw why. I took the numbers off and reran it. Anyhow, I chose struggling to prioritize between marketing operations and client delivery, and feeling overwhelmed by too many tools, apps, and software choices. I'm in startup mode. I have a few clients, but I'm in startup mode for marketing and expanding. And it came back and gave me a 4-week plan. And then any concerns? And I said, well, yes, I don't really have a tech stack yet. I just have a multitude of suggestions. What would you suggest? Here are the subscriptions I have. I feel as though I really need something for document storage, something for signatures, anything I'm missing. And it came back with a really nice tech stack, suggestions for contract signatures, storage, yada, yada. I'm like, great, tech stack solved.
Nice. Nice.
So
We're solving the problems of the world today, right?
here we are.
Maybe we should ask it about world peace and see what it says. And Shai, can you share what you came up with?
Okay, so almost the same, but my complexity that I chose is juggling the multiple systems as well and platforms, as well as planning events or webinars with limited resources. So it gave me a 4-week plan on how to do it, but I said with the chat GPT, 4 weeks might be tight. So can you do 6 weeks? And it just laid down the steps as well. So I told just a list, just ChatGPT just put it in the list. So I told, can you also do 6 weeks, then tabular form of the action steps? So it did in 6 weeks plan. So it's a lot clearer on me in like visual side and understandable there.
Great. And so one of the things in this prompt was to say, give me a plan. And there's so many things in life that it looks like a big blob of things out there and you get a little overwhelmed. Whereas if you can get it broken down into steps over a certain period of time, it can make all the difference in the world in terms of getting where you want to go. So I encourage people to use that concept with your AI to help you do planning, particularly when you're faced with a fairly complex situation and it just feels too overwhelming to even approach. Because what can happen is when we hit that overwhelm area, then we just don't do anything. We kind of freeze. So getting things broken down like that. So this is counseling time, right? So thank you everybody for sharing that, and I appreciate your going through and saying what you found out, and hope that's all very helpful for you. AI tips. This is the same tip that I shared. I typically do this twice in a week where we have our workshops. And the big thing is just go down and use those extra tools at the bottom. If you're in ChatGPT, when you get down to the bottom of the input field, you can click on this tools, and then these are going to pop up for you. The deep research I had tried before we went into the team version of ChatGPT, and then it kind of went away and now it's back. So apparently it was just something that they needed to get put back in place, whether you're in an independent version, an individual version, or a team version. So those are all there. And I'd encourage you to try running deep research on something. When we did it on a topic, Laura and I did it on a topic, it took it about 20 minutes to go out and search everywhere and find all sorts of information. It will give you very in-depth results, deep research. And you can also, if you're in Google Gemini, you'll get deep research as well. Looking ahead, we don't have any more workshops set up, but just the concept of some of the things we've worked on. Have you started to implement your quarter 3 plan? Have you scheduled or started your WIM meetings if you have other people, or sit down and schedule them with yourself? And then one idea to try is from our Tuesday meeting, try creating a new blog article or a series of social posts and use those Tuesday prompts to see how far you can go. And we actually sent out we've been implementing a piece at a time out of that one prompt where we came up with all of the postings for all of the different social networks. And Kit is our broadcast, our email broadcast. And we sent out one of those today, and we got a number of responses on it. A friend of mine for many years has said, when I don't send anything out to my followers, nothing happens. He said, when I send something out, I make sales. Gosh, I wonder what I should be doing. So when he sends stuff, he makes sales. When he doesn't send stuff, he doesn't. So he said, I think there's a lesson in there somewhere. And then the final sheet, I'm not even going to walk through this. If you guys have gotten the slide deck and you have anything to do with job costing, I've developed over the years many useful tools. And we also have a month-end procedures tool that's in pretty much in depth, particularly designed for companies that do job costing. But if you have other companies that you're doing month-end closes on and they don't do job costing, you can just hide those particular roles and rows and go through and apply all the rest of the month-end closing procedures. Something to think about. Thank you so much again for being a part of this series. And
Before we go, Diane, I have a couple of questions out here in the chat. One of them I would like to ask you because you might know a little bit more about it.
Okay.
And that is, there's a question about the deep research topic and how does that compare to Perplexity? And I'm not familiar with Perplexity, Diane, but I know that you've had some background, a little bit more background on some of the different tools. Can you answer that?
I haven't really spent a lot of time in Perplexity, but I know that deep search, there are two primary places that the people that I follow talk about deep research, and that is in ChatGPT and in Google, I think it's Omni. And what those tools do is they go out and search and give you really detailed results. Now, my understanding is Perplexity will do that to some level, but not as deep as OpenAI's ChatGPT or Google's deep search. Those are the two preferred ones, but you're going to get something from Perplexity, just not as much. And Jean Marie shared some of AI's suggestions for world peace. It's pretty nifty.
Pam has a question on using the 4.0. She's asked,
Uh-huh.
where do I find that? And it should be in the upper left-hand corner of ChatGPT, and it's actually just 4 and then a small O.
Yeah, there are all of these when you do a new chat, or this is mine when I ran the prompt through. You can actually, I believe, change the version you're in somewhere down here, but I can't tell you exactly where. Maybe you just change it up here. But when you start a new one, if I go new chat, you can choose which one you want.
Yeah, I must not have the right version because mine doesn't say that. Mine says Chat GPT, or then it says Chat GPT Plus, and I have to upgrade so that it doesn't say 4.0.
So are you in the free version?
No, I thought I paid something for it. I
You
don't know.
should see all of these models. If you're paying $20 a month, you should see all these models.
Are you
So there's
logged in? That might be the difference.
oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I was, but maybe I'm not. Okay, I'll double check and make sure. All right, thank you.
You're
Okay.
I
welcome.
told you I was new at this.
No, it's okay. We're all learning together. There's no big book in the sky that says how to use AI. That's why we're experimenting. There are a couple things I know about these out here. You'll see advanced reasoning. This is best at reasoning. The reasoning models are designed more for math than science. I haven't gone out and played in them. You could put the same prompt in 4.0 and then go out to one of these and run it and see. They're slow and they're limited. My understanding is that these can be very slow because they're going through a whole series of thought, quote unquote, thought processes. And then here's the O4 mini. So these are all the reasoning models. So generally speaking, 4.0 is going to give you the best results for the kinds of things that most of us work in.
Our team's go-to is the 4.0, correct.
So again, thank you so much, everyone. Oh, and I know what I was going to say is if you have ideas for what you might like to see me put together and to interact with, that's a little different than what we've done here, maybe a monthly get together to do something, send me an email, send me ideas, because I'm open to hearing what you might like. Okay. But maybe we started to solve the world peace issue here. So can't ask for more than that. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye.